Picture this. You walk into a shelter, maybe you went just to look around, maybe a friend dragged you there, and somewhere in the middle of all the noise and the chaos, one dog locks eyes with you. Not in a desperate, jumping all over you kind of way. Just quietly. Steadily. Like they've been waiting for exactly you to walk through that door. And something in your chest shifts. You don't know why. You just know. I've seen that moment happen hundreds of times. And every single time, I think about what's actually happening in that dog's mind, what years of behavioral science tells us about what they're capable of feeling, processing, and becoming. Because here's the thing most people don't realize when they're standing in that shelter aisle trying to make this enormous decision: the science of adoption is extraordinary. And it is overwhelmingly, beautifully on the side of giving that dog a home. Hi, I'm Sarah, a dog behavior specialist and the heart behind Paw Stories. I've spent years studying what dogs feel, why they act the way they do, and how the bond between dogs and their humans can be one of the most profound relationships in life. My goal is to help you truly understand what's going on in your dog's mind and heart, so you can respond in ways that make them feel seen, safe, and deeply loved. And today, I want to share 7 reasons, grounded in real behavioral science and neuroscience, why adopting a pet isn't just a noble choice. It might actually be the smarter one. If understanding what your dog truly feels fascinates you as much as it fascinates me, subscribe and hit that like button. It helps me reach more dog lovers who want to go deeper into this beautiful bond. What the research actually tells us. Let's start here, because I think this surprises people. The majority of dogs in shelters don't have significant behavioral problems. I know that's not the story we've been told. The narrative has long been that shelter dogs are damaged goods, surrendered because they were too difficult, too reactive, too broken. But study after study in applied animal behavior has shown that the most common reasons dogs end up in shelters are human circumstances. Moving homes. Financial hardship. A new baby. A landlord who changed the rules. Life happened to their people, not to them. That matters enormously, because it means millions of dogs are sitting in kennels right now with fully intact emotional capacity, healthy attachment systems, and personalities just waiting to be understood. And that brings me to reason number 1. Reason 1, you actually know who you're getting. Here's something that genuinely changed the way I counsel families looking for a dog. Adult dogs already have established personalities. The big 5 traits studied in canine behavioral science: curiosity, sociability, emotional responsiveness, energy level, and reactivity, stabilize between 1 and 2 years of age. What that means practically is that the dog you meet in a shelter assessment is, in many meaningful ways, the dog you're going to live with. Puppies, as unbearably adorable as they are behavioral wildcards. I've worked with families who fell completely in love with a fluffy 12-week-old, brought them home, and were genuinely unprepared for the high-energy, noise-sensitive, resource-guarding adult that emerged. Not because anything went wrong, just because genetics and development are complex, and early puppyhood tells you less than you'd think. Reputable shelters use structured behavioral assessment tools, protocols like the SAFER evaluation and Assess-a-Pet, that generate detailed temperament profiles. You can know, before you commit, how this dog does with other animals, with children, in novel environments, with handling. That's information most breeders simply don't offer at the same depth. Reason 2, the bond you build may be neurologically deeper. This is the one that moves me most. In 2015, a landmark study by Nagasawa and colleagues published in Science demonstrated something remarkable. When dogs and their humans gaze into each other's eyes, both experience a surge in oxytocin, the same bonding hormone involved in parent-child attachment. The feedback loop that drives that bond doesn't care where the dog came from. It responds to consistency, to safety, to repeated positive interaction. But here's what researchers have observed in dogs who've experienced adversity and then found stability. They often display what behavioral scientists call secure attachment recovery, a measurable pattern where the new caregiver becomes an especially strong emotional anchor. These dogs tend to be more expressive in their affiliative behaviors, more attuned to their owner's emotional states, more visibly oriented around their people. Now, I want to be careful here. Dogs don't cognitively know they were rescued. They're not thinking, "This person saved me" in a narrative sense. What they respond to is contrast. The nervous system that was chronically activated by unpredictability and confinement begins, in a stable home, to regulate. And the person providing that regulation becomes, quite literally, a neurological safe haven. That's not sentiment. That's biology. Reason 3, where puppies come from matters more than people think. I want to talk about something that a lot of people don't fully understand, because I think the facts here are genuinely important. Commercially bred dogs, particularly those from high-volume breeding operations, whether sold in pet stores or online, face specific developmental risks that have measurable behavioral consequences. A pivotal study by Frank McMillan and colleagues in Applied Animal Behavior Science compared dogs from commercial breeders with those from small responsible breeders and adopted dogs. The findings were striking. Commercially bred dogs showed significantly higher rates of anxiety, aggression, compulsive behaviors, and difficulty with training. These weren't minor differences. The explanation is neurological, not moral. The window between 3 and 12 weeks of life is what behavioral scientists call the critical socialization period, the developmental phase during which the brain is most plastic, most receptive to learning what the world looks, sounds, and feels like. Puppies raised in high-density, low-stimulation environments, separated from their mothers too early, and denied exposure to varied people, surfaces, sounds, and experiences often have limbic system development that is measurably different from dogs raised in enriched, attentive environments. The limbic system governs emotion, fear, and, importantly, the capacity to bond. I'm not saying every pet store dog is behaviorally compromised, or that every adopted dog is behaviorally perfect. What I'm saying is, the origin story matters, and the science is clear about why. Reason 4, mixed breeds carry a hidden behavioral advantage. Shelter dogs are often mixed breeds, and I've come to see that as a genuine gift rather than a limitation. Genetic diversity, what biologists call heterosis, reduces the prevalence of heritable behavioral disorders. Traits like generalized anxiety, obsessive-compulsive patterns such as tail chasing or flank sucking, and heightened stress reactivity have strong genetic components, and they cluster in lineages that have been selectively bred for specific physical characteristics without regard for what else comes along for the ride. Some of our most beloved and visually distinctive breeds carry significant behavioral co-selection baggage, traits that weren't intended but came packaged with the look people were breeding for. Mixed-breed dogs tend to have broader genetic profiles that buffer against these extremes. Their behavior is less predictable in terms of instinct-driven tendencies, yes, but more often falls in the stable, moderate range of the behavioral spectrum. Does this mean purebred dogs can't be wonderful? Of course not. I've worked with extraordinary purebred dogs and their families. But when people ask me, purely from a behavioral stability standpoint, what gives a dog the best starting odds, genetic diversity is genuinely part of that answer. When this becomes something to watch. Now, I want to spend a moment here, because I think it's important to be honest, some shelter dogs do carry behavioral challenges. And knowing the difference between normal adjustment and something that needs professional support is one of the most valuable things I can offer you. The first few weeks after adoption follow a well-documented pattern that behaviorists often refer to as the 3-day, 3-week, 3-month arc. In the first days, a dog may refuse food, stay quiet and withdrawn, seem almost invisible. This isn't depression, this is the nervous system managing cortisol overload after a major environmental transition. It is normal, and it passes. In the first weeks, you may see the dog start testing, chewing things they shouldn't, barking, getting into mischief. This is actually a good sign. It means they're feeling safe enough to express themselves. This is also when their true personality starts showing up. By 3 months, most dogs have settled enough that what you're seeing is essentially who they are. And here's what I always tell dog owners, that timeline is often faster than people expect. Here's the first thing to watch for, signs that suggest something beyond normal adjustment. Unpredictable aggression without clear triggers. Repetitive behaviors that persist for hours without interruption. Complete refusal of interaction even after several weeks of consistent care. Prolonged, intense vocalizations especially when the dog is not alone. Now, the second pattern I see that people often misread: a dog who is still hiding or shutting down at 6 weeks may not be behaviorally traumatized, they may simply be extremely sensitive and under-socialized, which responds wonderfully to patient enrichment and routine. There is a difference between a traumatized dog and a dog who has never been properly introduced to the world. And here's what really tells me something important is happening: when behavior changes suddenly in a dog who was previously stable. Sudden lethargy, irritability, or withdrawal can be medical before they're behavioral. Hypothyroidism, chronic pain, neurological issues, these mimic emotional symptoms. Your vet and a certified behaviorist are not alternatives to each other. They're a team. Reason 5, you interrupt a cycle of chronic stress with measurable biological effects. Dogs in shelters develop what behavioral science describes as learned helplessness, a state first identified by Martin Seligman, where repeated exposure to uncontrollable circumstances leads to reduced initiative, reduced exploration, and chronically elevated cortisol. This isn't a personality flaw. It is a predictable neurological response to an unpredictable environment. What happens when a dog moves into a stable, loving home is genuinely remarkable. Research shows that cortisol levels in adopted dogs begin to normalize within 2 to 8 weeks of consistent routine and positive interaction. The hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, the system that regulates stress responses, starts recalibrating. The dog begins to explore, begins to play, begins to solicit affection. The brain is doing something extraordinary, it's learning that the world can be safe. That is neuroplasticity in one of its most beautiful expressions. Reason 6, your intentionality changes everything about how the bond forms. This one is about you as much as the dog. Research in human-animal interaction psychology consistently shows that people who adopt consciously, who made a deliberate, informed choice rather than an impulse purchase, demonstrate higher tolerance during behavioral challenges, greater engagement with training, and significantly lower rates of relinquishment. They stick with it. And that consistency is precisely what a dog's nervous system needs to build trust. Here's what I've come to understand after years of this work: when you choose with intention, you don't just rescue the dog. You recruit yourself into a different kind of owner. One who is curious about behavior instead of frustrated by it. One who asks why instead of how do I stop this? And that shift in orientation makes an almost indescribable difference in the quality of the relationship that forms. Reason 7, you become part of a solution that has real-world consequences. Millions of healthy, behaviorally sound animals are euthanized in shelters globally every year. Adoption does not solve the systemic issues that create that reality, but each adoption directly reduces the demand that sustains high-volume breeding operations. These are connected systems. The choice to adopt is, among other things, a refusal to fund an industry with a documented record of neurological and behavioral harm to the animals it produces. I say this not to create guilt, but to offer clarity. Because sometimes the most compassionate choice and the most scientifically supported choice are exactly the same choice. What this moment really means. Remember the dog at the beginning, the one who locked eyes with you at the shelter? I want to come back to them. Because now you understand something about that moment that most people don't. That dog wasn't just looking at you. Their brain was scanning for safety signals. Their nervous system was asking a question it's been asking since dogs and humans first decided to navigate the world together, somewhere around 15,000 years ago. Can I trust this person? Is it safe to stay? And when you walk them through your front door, and give them a routine, and respond to their fear with patience instead of frustration, and learn to read what their body is saying, you answer that question. Not with words. With everything that matters to a dog: consistency, presence, and the willingness to understand. In my years working with dogs and their families, I've seen countless animals come in guarded and leave deeply bonded. Not because they forgot where they came from, but because someone gave them a reason to stay. If something today shifted the way you think about this, share it. Share it with the person in your life who's been thinking about getting a dog. Share it with the one who already has one and wonders about where that loyalty comes from. And leave a comment below. Tell me your story. Tell me about the dog you adopted and what the first weeks were like. Tell me about the behavior you saw that you didn't understand at the time but do now. Tell me the moment you knew. I read every single comment, and every story genuinely matters to me. Subscribe to Paw Stories for more of this, because every dog deserves an owner who truly understands them. And you're already becoming exactly that.